Top of the morning, everybody. Top of the Sunday morning. Welcome to the Sweat, a program we bring you here on DraftKings Network and VSiN every Saturday and Sunday morning from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock Eastern Time. I'm Emerson Lancia. Julian Edlow over here in a shirt he just pulled out of his car's trunk 30 minutes ago. Actually, less than that, about 15 minutes ago.
I got a shirt this morning.
And
I think I look fine.
Yep, it's a good thing you can't smell him. He smells absolutely terrible this morning. But it's good to have both of you guys here. We have a jam-packed show. Like, people are talking about it. They're like, have you seen this show's rundown? I said, yeah, dude, I'm part of it. But here's part of it. Here's what we're talking about. If you have no idea, Julian hasn't seen the rundown. So
I think the show is better if I don't look at the rundown and just give you more.
Yeah, that's right. That's when your bet's
more
really
authentic
hit.
response.
So we do have people who do know what they're talking about on this show. How about some insiders who cover the Commanders, the Patriots, the Cardinals? We talked to Josh Rock yesterday, who covers the Bears. We know what they're doing number one overall. So let's talk to the teams, people who cover the teams, who are taking guys at 2, 3, and 4. Basketball. Game one of the week one, day one of the NBA playoffs. Julian Edlow. Some big takeaways, all the favorites. Winning yesterday.
Big day for favorites.
Yeah, big day for favorites. We'll see what you think ahead of 4 more games today. And how to bet the draft. So Luke Swain. Hopefully Luke Swain will be joining us of VegasRefund.com.
Yeah.
Let's work up a sweat, shall we? Come on, let's get going. I'm feeling it. Let's get hot. Julian, what's cooking in that big beefy brain of yours?
All right, so NBA favorites, home teams, 4-0 straight up and against the spread yesterday. So good day for favorites bettors. One of those favorites, the Knicks, which we gave out on this show. And
little nerve-wracking there.
Man,
CT Betts was a little nervous.
He should watch more NBA and know that, it's a game of runs. So Knicks get the job done at home. Win game one money line for us. Keeps the game one series double result alive. Keeps the series price alive as well. But Embiid, the story there, goes down awkwardly on the knee, leaves, guts it out, plays through it. Plays decent at first. I was kind of impressed at how well he was playing on that limp, but finished the game looking a little shaky, looking like he was feeling that knee. So
was that his Paul Pierce game?
No. No wheelchairs involved, no poop rumors that aren't true. Well, first of all, Embiid has like 8 Paul Pierce wheelchair games. This happens to him all the time, and that's why this is what we're talking about.
It was nerve-wracking, though, because that was the first time he had dunked, right, since he came back from the meniscus injury. So then he goes down. Everyone's like, oh, big man's done. Big man is done. But no, they wheel him on out. He emptied his tanks, and he went in the second half.
Yeah, but so just watching how he played, like if Philly did gut that out and win game one, they would absolutely be sitting Embiid in game 2 and saying, we got our split on the road, we're going to rest Embiid and try and get him healthy for games 3 and 4 at home. Now you're behind in the series, you got to play him. He's clearly not right. And the Knicks have bodies for him, like we talked about yesterday. Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson make a difference on a, whatever you want to call him, 75%, 60%, whatever he is, percent Embiid. And the rest of the Knicks are solid. Josh Hart played fantastic. OG, these guys are all helping out. Brunson is the stud, but Philly did a good job throwing some size at him, making it more difficult for Brunson, but the rest of those guys helped figure it out. I didn't even think the Knicks played particularly well. They certainly didn't shoot well, and they were able to pull that game out. If Embiid is hobbling around out there again, this isn't going to be all that much of a series if Embiid is not 100%. So just looking at the board, again, we went Knicks game 1 and win the series double result. Knicks are now 5-point favorites in game 2. They're minus 250 to win the series. I love these to win game and win series double result. You can go Knicks to win game 2 and the series minus 120. So you're talking about a 5-point home favorite against a dinged up Embiid. I like the Knicks to win that game. Then you have them in pocket to win the series at minus 120. They're going to shoot up to like minus 350, 400 to win the series if they win that game. So I really love these series and game double results.
Okay. Well, we will dive much more into what you like on your NBA betting card today.
Yeah.
Plus some reactions.
Celtics minus 3,000 for the series is jumping out to me.
Wow. Yeah. I'm sure also the Lakers making that one a little interesting at first against Nuggets. Yes, they came out hot. LeBron looked like the best player on the floor, and then all of a sudden the Nuggets decided to just channel their inner Nuggets and look exactly the way they did from last year in the playoffs. What do you got today, dude? You're doing a little something different, huh? You look spicy. You look like something's bothering you. Something is under your skin. What could it be?
Nothing is bothering me. We may have witnessed
I know, dude.
one of the most ridiculous things that occurred on a baseball diamond yesterday. And it wasn't even in-game action.
Anthony Rendon said he had fun.
No.
God.
Real quick, sidebar, real quick. Anthony Rendon is injured, and he said he's mad and disappointed. He is a liar.
Thrilled.
He is an absolute liar, but that's not what we're talking about.
Okay, all right. What are we talking about?
We
then?
need to watch this clip from what happened pre-game at the Yankees game
My
yesterday.
God. What is that?
John Sterling has retired, okay? He's done. So to thank him for all of his years in the Yankees organization, they get him a freaking TV. And
Look at his face.
He is like, what on earth is happening? So they set this up that he's retired. And look how ridiculous this is. They're walking an 83-inch TV onto the field to present to old, frail John Sterling. What's he going to carry that out by himself? But here's the worst part. They set this up as, John, we want you to enjoy your retirement. We want you to be close to the Yankees while you're at home and watching them. So here is your 83-inch LG OED, whatever, HD TV. But here is what really got me. After they said that, then they say, LG, the official TV of the Yankees.
Yeah.
So they didn't even pay for the TV.
No.
LG just gave it to them to give to John Sterling. So they gave nothing for John Sterling. They got him a free television. And tell me,
It's a poverty franchise. That's what it is. They went to freaking Best Buy for Sterling's gift.
Although
they didn't even do that. LG just handed it to them. They just got it from LG. They probably have like 10,000 at the stadium in the back.
The level of cringe.
83 inches.
Massive.
Pretty big.
It's massive.
I think mine's like 65. I could use an 83.
I think he also said at some point yesterday, someone asked him, how many TVs do you have like in your place already? He's like, I have 5. So this is like his 6th TV in his house.
It's just,
Maybe he could give one to you.
it is so awkward. And it's so like, why walk it onto the field? Can you imagine they went up to like Aaron Boone and they're like, hey, we need you to help carry out this television to John.
Yeah, I bet Boone in a way was semi-embarrassed. He's like, this is what we're doing.
Well, because it's so awkward. It's so awkward. Like, guys who were, like, when David Ortiz was retiring and he was getting all these gifts from all the different franchises, it was like meaningful things that, like, they made.
They could have given like a golden
customized it.
microphone or something.
Dude,
I was going to say, like
TV.
a microphone plaque with his name and how he
TV.
was there, whatever.
A key to the city and like a Mercedes or something too.
And
A Mercedes.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm sure Mercedes sponsors them, whatever
no,
the
seriously,
vehicle
a
sponsor
car,
is.
I think is appropriate.
This is the equivalent, and someone said it in the replies, this is equivalent of a dude getting a pizza party for his retirement after working for a company for 30 years.
And honestly, shout out to you. You told me about this. I had missed this. I had totally
It was the
missed
last thing I did before I went to bed. I was in bed sending
Yeah.
you this. I said, bro, we got to talk about this tomorrow, either on our podcast or on the show. And you're like, I'm in.
A lot of people have opinions on John. I'm not
Okay.
going to sit here and pretend that like I like him or dislike him because I don't listen to the Yankees radio broadcast. That is an utter embarrassment.
Okay,
That's pathetic.
Is this more of a sign that they're saving money so they can sign Juan Soto, or is this a sign that they have no chance of signing Juan Soto because they have no more money left? What is it?
The jury's out on that one. The jury's out on that one. But I'm sorry, like if you are going to honor someone that is, meant so much to your franchise, you can't give him just a television. Like that's so absurd. And then carry it out on the field is even worse. The guy is so frail. What is he going to carry it out? Is he going to hang it
doesn't
himself?
look that frail,
I
dude.
feel like they all
Dude,
help.
do you remember when he got hit by that fly ball?
Yeah.
Dude, he was.
I remember.
He crumpled.
I remember him calling multiple fly balls like they were home runs.
Right. Well, I think that's
That's
when
part
we-
of
I mean,
They
the
gotta
guy
retire
is a Yankees legend. He is.
and they honor him
He
with
and
the television.
Susan, right?
A $4,000 television.
No, that's $450 at Walmart, bro.
TV prices have really taken a dip. You got to catch up on the
Yeah,
TV market.
dude.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
All right.
I'd like to see John hang that himself.
Well, here we go. I got something really quick that'll help people make money so they can go down to Walmart and buy the same TV that John Sterling was just gifted by the Yankees. Right now, golf. We're going to parlay Scotty Scheffler to win the RBC Heritage. He has a one-stroke lead. And also, Nelly Korda. All right, #1 women's golfer in the world. She's going for her 5th straight win at the Chevron Championship. It's the first major of the year on the LPGA Tour. She is a stroke behind. She's got some obstacles to overcome today. She has 25 holes to play after play was suspended yesterday. Temperatures are going to be a little cool. Okay, they're in Texas. Wind's going to be in the teens a little bit. I'm not concerned. She's been overcoming adversity all day long. She already has a major championship on her resume. We're absolutely ignoring the history that she is making, which if she gets this 5th straight win would tie an LPGA record, but she has distanced herself from her LPGA peers even more so than Scotty Scheffler. And we know Scotty, he's been in the pole position now. He's going for his 4th win in 5 tournaments. He's been in the pole position multiple times. Not worried about that. So parlay both of them to win today, plus 260 odds, baby. Let's go. Not going to get better than that. Actually, it will. After this break, it's NFL draft season. We talked to Josh Rock yesterday. We know who the Bears are taking #1 overall. So the Commanders are on the clock. A franchise-defining decision in 4 days. What are they going to do? We'll bring in a man who covers the team next. All right, folks, so the NFL draft is now just, days away. First round on Thursday. We talked about the Bears yesterday. I think we all are pretty well aware who they're going to go with. #1 overall. So up next, Commanders sitting there at 2. So let's talk about their strategy, where they're going to go with Ben Standig, senior writer for The Athletic, who covers this team. Appreciate you joining us this morning, Ben. It's a new era of Washington football here, dude. So we're talking new owner, new GM, new head coach, and soon, most likely, a new rookie quarterback. What are the vibes like right now just around the DMV? Are people excited about this new chapter of Commanders football?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, I think back in July when Josh Harris and his group officially purchased the team from Dan Snyder, you can add that to like a date that will be celebrated in this town for many years. People felt a huge relief off of that. Obviously, last year, the football season itself, there wasn't much the new group could do, meaning the ownership, until the end of the year. The season, faded even worse than I think some imagined. So once the year ended, here comes GM Adam Peters. He helps hire head coach Dan Quinn. They assemble a staff, signed a ton of free agents. So yeah, I mean, I think there's a ton of optimism. At the same time, this is a team that has not had a winning record in 7 consecutive years, no playoff win since 2005. So you still have that football angst of cool, new guys. Now what? Where we at? But in general, yes, people are pretty stoked about the fact that the old ownership is gone and there's a new era. A new era is here.
And is this a new era of a way of entertaining prospects when you bring them in to meet the team, taking them to Topgolf? Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah, they did do that. It's actually not new for Adam Peters.
Okay.
This is what he did with the 49ers during his many years. He started his career in New England, and Bill Belichick this week was on TV talking about how they've done a similar thing over the years, bringing in a group of guys together. The difference here is that it wasn't just cornerbacks and tackles and linebackers. It was 4 quarterbacks. The top guys this draft, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, J.J. McCarthy, and Michael Penix. And that part is interesting because what are we trying to have some sort of like science experiment here? Like what happens when you put these 4 guys in the same room? Or is there something about having these guys in that sort of social setting? This is what Adam Peters talked about this week, that it's a different way to see these guys. They're not maybe as buttoned it up if they're with their peers. So, we'll see. They also had individual time with each of the quarterbacks in the facility the following day. So, they think they've got what all the information they need, and now they move forward.
Yeah, so I think Drake May, best golfer out of that group for sure, but does he make the most sense for you guys at number 2 overall? Like, who is the ideal pick at 2?
Boy, it's really funny. This is a scenario where beyond the fact that these quarterbacks, everybody's going to have their pros and their cons and that stuff, but there's a lot of interesting angles that you could play that suggest any of them could be the guy. With Drake May, look, he's got the prototype size. He's got the big arm. He played in an air raid offense at North Carolina. His big year was under offensive coordinator Phil Longo, who left to go to Wisconsin. Phil Longo and Cliff Kingsbury, now Washington's OC, are friends. They both run some version of the air raid offense, so it would seem like Drake May could be an easy fit. At the same time, Jaden Daniels' two-way ability he showed last year during that breathtaking Heisman season is also ideal for that Kingsbury sort of open attack. And the way whereas Drake May maybe took a little stumble last year with performance, Daniels is ascending based on what he did last year. So that's another one where it makes sense. And even just with J.J. McCarthy, I've heard people say because of the way he throws on schedule, he's willing to pass over the middle, that's a guy who could fit like a Kyle Shanahan or a Shanahan tree system. Well, Adam Peters just spent 7 years with Shanahan, and Dan Quinn, the head coach, he had Kyle Shanahan as his OC in Atlanta when they went to the Super Bowl. So there's a lot of interesting connections and ways to look at this. Could be Drake May. I'm kind of been leading Jaden Daniels, but none of them would surprise me, which is a lame answer, but I think that's just the reality.
It's all good. I saw on the Athletics mock draft that you had the team taking Daniels, and he is the favorite to go 2 overall on the DK Sportsbook here. What are the chances, though, that they make a go at number 1 overall, or maybe they have, because there's Caleb Williams there. We all know he's the hometown kid. I mean, you got to at least make Chicago say no, right?
Well, they certainly did their due diligence. Washington attended Williams's pro day. They met at the combine, all that kind of stuff. But, I don't see the Bears at this point.
Yeah.
The Bears it seems like they've kind of closed the door on considering anything else. And this week we asked Adam Peters, hey, are you going to make the pick at 2? And he's like, yeah, I don't see any scenario where we would trade out. He was talking about down, but again, I think the up is pretty much closed off. So whatever they looked into at some point, I imagine they were told we're not interested. And honestly, for the price it would probably take, I don't know if Washington would be interested either.
Yeah, and we are talking about a team here, Ben, with 6 picks in the top 100, including 2 second-rounders. So what other positions does Washington need to address in this draft?
Yeah, not to be flippant, but honestly, about everything. Like, I would be surprised in the second round if they took defensive tackle or running back based on what they have, but really almost anything else. But top of the list, offensive tackle, their left tackle spot is kind of wide open. They have their swing tackle, Cornelius Lucas, who would be plugged in right now to play there. So I think they've got to get a left tackle. Even their right tackle spot going forward is a bit questionable. The edge rushers, they signed enough players in free agency, including Dorrance Armstrong and Dante Fowler from Dan Quinn's old team in Dallas. But they don't really have that sort of young upside player. This is a spot where they could get a guy like a Marshawn Nealand from Western Michigan, or maybe on day 3, Braylon Trice from Washington could be guys to look at. And then from there, cornerback depth, they could use some height at receiver. Their tight end room is kind of weak. They could use depth really at almost any other spot. So, beyond quarterback, almost nothing would surprise me in the second round for Washington.
Yeah, and they addressed the offensive line, right, with Nick Allegretti in the offseason as well, because you're going to have to protect like a rookie quarterback for sure. There was talent, there was experience that was added in the offseason in free agency, and then you have veteran leaders like Austin Eckler, Bobby Wagner on this team. How much does bringing those guys in help, especially in a locker room where it's most likely going to be this rookie quarterback under center?
Yeah, they signed, I lost track at some point. They signed over 20 outside free agents and plus brought back a few of their own free agents. So it is a completely new look. Players who have been back for some of the offseason workouts have said like it feels like they're the ones who left to go to another team. The room looks so different. But I think in general, like other than 3 players, linebacker Frankie Louvu, center Tyler Biotish, and defensive end Dorrance Armstrong, pretty much everybody else signed a 1-year deal. Okay. And what that says to me is, and they kind of have admitted this as much, this is just about them trying to get the roster back to a credible level so they can go out and play, as well as, we always talk about culture and changing that and improving it. This is a lot of that too. A guy like Bobby Wagner, who was, still a highly productive player last year. He came in on a 1-year deal to join coaches, including Dan Quinn, that he knew previously when they were in Seattle. He is a tone setter. At his age, this is not about, trying to win for Washington. This is about, we need people to understand what does it take to succeed in this league. And you mentioned Austin Eckler. He would be another example of that. So I really think their big moves will come in 2025. Right now, it's just about putting together a baseline of a team that can be helpful to a rookie quarterback, helpful to change the culture, and just sort of get them on a positive momentum regardless of the wins and the losses.
Yeah, and just to put together like a respectable roster, try to be competitive here. And in that division too, Ben, like the NFC East, widely considered a 2-horse race there between Dallas and the Eagles. But how big of a competitive leap could you see Washington making this year? Like maybe big enough to make the playoffs?
So many people point to, oh, look, the number 2 pick last year. Look what happened. The Houston Texans take C.J. Stroud, and all of a sudden they pop up. I would also point to the fact that Houston had multiple drafts in a row in which they were still a bad team, added a bunch of talent that were guys who factored into what it was they were doing last year. Washington really is coming off some poor drafts, and just the roster needs to kind of start over. So, sure, if you tell me that Jaden Daniels or Drake May they come in and are just crushing it, sure. If you tell me that, say, an Austin Eckler looks like the guy before last year when injuries hit him, you tell me a safety, Jeremy Chin, who was runner-up defensive rookie of the year in 2020, looks more like that version than the one last year who just didn't fit in Carolina, sure, then maybe things can be, they could be in a wild card situation. But in general, I still see this team as, kind of just trying to get more stable, moving their way up, and not being that much in the playoff mix, but hey, I've been surprised before. And having to cover this team, I'd be happy to be surprised again.
Yeah, that'd be a good surprise for you, you know? It's
Yeah.
like when I've been covering the Patriots here in this market for like years, it was much better when they were making the playoffs, that's for sure. Ben Standig of The Athletic, appreciate you making some time for us here on The Sweat, dude. We'll enjoy the draft this week, and Godspeed.
Godspeed's a good take. I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
You got it, dude. So 3 overall comes after 2 overall people. We're bringing in Doug Codd, who covers the Patriots. He's going to be here in studio. Which quarterback to the Pats like? Maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. Let's talk after the break. comes to this week's draft, I'm not quite sure there are many more fascinating teams to watch than the Patriots. So we brought in a guy here live in studio, Doug Codd. He's covered the Patriots for a long, long time. Now works at the Boston Herald. Good friend of mine, just like old times,
Absolutely,
big
Emerson.
dog.
I know.
Good to have you back.
There we go.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Kid picked out your shirt today.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, shamed me for it. But
You can't just wear a
I'm looking
blue
okay.
shirt.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Anywho, Pat's third overall pick here, Doug. Their highest first rounder since 1993. So all signs point to them taking a quarterback, right? Only question is, which one?
That is the million-dollar question. I mean, I would lean towards Drake May on this one, just because he's the guy who's probably going to be there for them. I would guess, like, Jaden Daniels has been tied to the Commanders. J.J. McCarthy has been tied to the Commanders. Drake May, not as much. He's been in the facility with them. He did that whole quarterback visit roundup that they had. So I would guess it would be Drake May, but I know that there's people within the organization who are high on Jaden Daniels.
Really? Okay.
J.J. McCarthy seems to be that guy right now who's rising up all the draft boards and
I
everything.
don't even know where that's coming from. I don't get it. He threw 5 times a game in college.
Could very well just be a good agent. But there's a decent amount to like about J.J. McCarthy. I won't trash him or anything like that. But yeah, Drake May, I think, is the most likely one, and he'd be a great pick.
Yeah.
Big arm, Josh Allen-esque. A couple of people have compared him to Brett Favre, actually. And Elliott Wolf. His dad is the one who traded for Brett Favre way back when with the Packers. So there's some ties there. You know?
All right, yeah. Well, that will probably make Ben Standig, who works for The Athletic, we had him on the last block, covers the Commanders, says, I really like him to take Jaden Daniels there. So that, Drake May's the guy here if he's there. But hey, the whole draft, the quarterback thing out of Michigan before worked for the Patriots. So if J.J. McCarthy is the guy, I don't know. Could you see a situation where they don't take a quarterback at 3 and maybe choose to go that wide receiver route? Like, Marvin Harrison Jr., who's, again, being, plugged and pushed as this generational wide receiver talent here?
I don't, not without a trade down. I think it would be a little bit reckless to stay at that number 3 overall pick, not take a quarterback, take the wide receiver, offensive tackle, and then hope that you get the quarterback either in the second round and trade back up or even next year. They know what they have here right now. They know that Jaden Daniels, Drake May, or J.J. McCarthy will be there for them at number 3. So in the situation they're in right now, needing a quarterback with Jacoby Brissett being the only other kind of starting option on this team, they just need to do it. They need to bite the bullet, do it right now, take the quarterback, and even if he sits for a year, prepare him for 2025 because they just don't know what's coming otherwise.
Yeah.
I do like a lot of other players in this draft. You mentioned Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, the wide receiver out of Washington. Like, it would be great to land him.
The third, I think at least on the DK Sportsbook, I think Rome has the third best odds, or at least the best odds to be the third wide receiver off the board.
Right, yeah, Malik Neighbors, the guy at LSU, he's great as well. So, all these guys are players that you would love to have, but they just need the quarterback. That's where it all starts.
Jacoby Brissett's not the guy right now?
He's a great bridge starter. Great bridge starter. Elliott Wolf was talking about him on, on Thursday, and he said, he's big, he's strong.
Yeah.
Kind of went on a little bit, and he was like, he's big, he's strong.
Yeah. Stop saying he's big and strong. It was funny. I was out hanging out with some fans outside Fenway earlier this past week, and I was like, come on, Jacoby Brissett. People are like, no, we're good. Please take one of the top quarterbacks. Yeah. There were a few people, though, who were like, I really want Marvin Harrison Jr. We also know it's a team. Now, it was called by Belichick before. He was calling the shots. Yeah. Not the strongest position that they've had drafting in the first round with wide receivers, too, right?
For sure. And a lot of the front office has carried over from the Bill Belichick time. So a lot of those guys who struggle to evaluate wide receivers are still around. Elliott Wolf, however, has the much bigger say right now. And the Packers, under Elliott Wolf, under his father, Ron Wolf, had a lot of success drafting wide receivers. So I actually trust him in this regime more than the previous one to take a wide receiver in round 2 or 3 and actually maybe have some success there.
We know quarterback's biggest area of need. Wide receiver is there too. I mean, where else can you go? Where else do the Patriots need help? And why is it almost everywhere?
It is almost everywhere, but...
I mean, these teams are picking towards the top of the draft for a reason.
Absolutely, and the Patriots for a very good reason. There's a devoid of talent across the offense. But the big 3 on this team really is quarterback, wide receiver, offensive tackle.
Gotcha.
And, those are 3 of the most high-paid positions in the NFL, 3 of the most valuable positions in the NFL. And fortunately, this is also a strong draft for those 3 positions. Elliott Wolf said on Thursday, there's 6 quarterbacks that they're looking at right now, and it's not just the 4 that we mentioned. They also like Bo Nix, also like Michael Penix. At wide receiver, there's going to be starting caliber wide receivers still on the board in the 2nd, 3rd round, potentially starting caliber offensive tackles in the 2nd or 3rd round as well. So might be tough once you get to that 3rd round of getting a guy that you can just plug and play, but as we said, roster's kind of devoid of talent right now, so whoever they get might wind up being the guy who's playing X receiver or left tackle on the roster next year.
Now, I was reading some of your articles on the Boston Herald. You had a few mock drafts out there, too. Did you have them trading out at all of 3? That report had started to come out. They're thinking more about it, and fans are just like, no, don't do that. What must the Patriots do, you think, in order to avoid a draft catastrophe? Would that be bad for them?
Yeah, I think trading out, staying put at 3 is the way to avoid a draft catastrophe. And really, Elliott Wolf, I keep mentioning it, but he can't have a draft catastrophe because he hasn't been named general manager yet. He's got final say on the roster, but Robert Kraft said at the NFL annual meeting that they are going to evaluate that role after the draft. And based on what I've heard,
that's pressure right there,
that
dude.
essentially means that they can't be the laughing stock of the league after the draft. If they are, then they're going to bring guys in, potentially, hire a new actual GM, VP of player personnel, whatever it is. A lot of the scouts and front office members on the staff, their contracts are up. They're wondering hey, do we extend our rent for next year right now? Or are we, so there's a lot of pressure on this draft right now. The worst thing they could do is trade down with the Vikings, let's say, because they're the most likely ones. They've got 11 and 23.
Yep.
Then they're stuck at 11.
They've been that team rumored really once J.J. McCarthy.
The 4 quarterbacks should be off the board. The 3 wide receivers could be off the board. The 2 left tackles could be off the board. And then they'd just be sitting there at 11 having no idea what to do.
Take a wide receiver.
Yeah, let's take a defensive end. That would be the worst. And really, the other way to avoid catastrophe is not do what they did in 2022 when they're drafting Cole Strange and Tyquan Thornton and the Rams head coach and GM are laughing at them in their press conferences.
Yeah.
So that's what they have to avoid in order to keep Elliott Wolf's job.
I mean, how different has just this pre-draft preparations, the approach been with Bill Belichick out of the building now and Mayo as the head coach and other new faces, well, some new faces, calling the shots now?
It's been a lot different, actually, because Elliott Wolf actually also installed a new grading system for the Patriots. So that's something that all of the scouts, all of the executives had to learn with Elliott Wolf now in charge. And from what I've heard, it's a little bit more simplified. The other big change here is that Elliott Wolf knows these guys at this point a lot better than Bill Belichick would have, because Bill Belichick's coaching during the fall. Elliott Wolf has the time to actually study a lot of these prospects. So some of their scouting reports can be a little bit smaller, or a little bit more concise, so that helps a lot. The other big thing, and we'll see how this works out in the long run, because sometimes you need the players coach, sometimes you need the Bill Belichick type disciplinarian, but it's just a lot looser at Gillette Stadium right now. And this is just a weird example. It might be a laugh.
No one's walking on eggshells.
That's the thing. What I heard is that people are actually eating in the cafeteria right now. Whereas
we're talking to people, we're making friends, yay!
They used to grab their lunch, go back to the office, all kind of huddle around. And now they're all commingling. It's a little bit more friendly. And like I said, maybe that's not a good thing. Who knows? But right now, I know that a lot of people are enjoying it.
When we're looking ahead to the season, everything's going to change with the draft, right? The only team with longer Super Bowl odds than the Pats right now are the Panthers. Obviously, no one expects them to get the Super Bowl. Hell, maybe most people don't expect them to sniff the playoffs, for crying out loud. But what are reasonable expectations for the Patriots this season under Mayo and under all the other guys in the front office now?
I mean, I think expectations should be set only slightly better than last season. I know that that's not something the Patriots fans probably want to hear. Probably not something that ownership really wants to hear right now, because they want to bring fans back into the stands. Last game of the season, they had 37, 40,000 people in the stands because no one really cared about the last game of the year. But this new front office head coaching, they kept mentioning the playoffs. That's setting expectations too high right now. They need to be going into the season saying, we're building for 2025. If they win 5, 6 games, whatever, that's fine. They need to be competitive in 2025 when the rookie quarterback is ready to play, when the offensive line is settled, when they've got that new X wide receiver, when they spend money next offseason. That's what really matters right now.
So, over or under 4.5 wins for the Patriots. What do you think?
Barely over. I'd
Barely
say.
over.
Barely
Okay, that's
over.
favored, by the way. It's favored minus 150 on the DK
Yeah.
Sportsbook, and then under would be plus 130 here. So I don't know.
Jacoby Brissett, baby.
Listen, dude. Like the only other probably guy worse to play quarterback for him is maybe Brian Hoyer. At least they didn't go out and do the Hoyer thing again.
It's very true. I mean, they've still got Bailey Zappi on the roster. He could be involved. Nathan Rourke, all these guys.
Oh my
but
God, I didn't even think about like Zappy. I'm just like it's
former
so
Jaguars
far.
legend Nathan Rourke. I know. It's
Yeah.
CFL legend.
Doug Cotty, it was great having you here in studio, man. I really appreciate you swinging by and making some time for us,
Absolutely.
dude.
Definitely, anytime.
All right, we'll keep that in mind, trust me. All right, we're going to take a break here from the Picks game. We're going to poke over to the Diamond with Steve Buchanan next. We're going to step into the bettor's box, people. Steve is here with his favorite baseball bets on today's slate coming up. folks, back here on the Sweat, wrapping up the first hour right now by stepping into the bettor's box with Mr. Steve Buchanan. Good
Hey,
to
you had a great day yesterday.
Yeah?
Impressive.
What'd you do yesterday? How'd your bets end up?
4-1 yesterday.
Whoa!
That would be a lot
Is
of
that better than Jules and his NBA bets?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, I know. That was a dumb question. We knew the answer to that. Okay, so help the people watching right now make even more money.
Yeah, this is definitely an 0-5 day coming for you.
Yeah, right.
That's how
it's
this
right
works
after
in the
you're like,
betting world.
man, I'm feeling good. I'm really on right now, and then it's like, yeah.
But let's start off with an underdog money line play for today.
Oh, I like this.
Me too. It's plus 110 for the Blue Jays money line going against the Padres.
That's up from plus 108, I think.
Yeah, I guess so. That's called line movement.
Yeah,
it definitely
wow.
happens.
Man, is
Sometimes.
this what betting is?
Yeah, but Joe Musgrove taking the mound for the Padres this evening. I don't know what time does that game start. Sometime today. Bet it before it starts. But Joe Musgrove
for you right now.
taking the mound for the Padres here tonight. He has been downright abysmal through 5 starts already. 5 starts. This is going to be a 6th start already of the season. 6.29 ERA. I know. 6.29 ERA. An expected ERA of 8.06. That basically tells you that he's actually been worse than what we've seen out on the field and what the results show so far, and that's through 24 in a third inning. So a fairly good sample size of what we've seen from him so far. Strikeouts are down. Walks are way up. If you look at the numbers from last year, through 97 in a third innings, he walked 21 batters last year. Already, through 24 in a third inning, he's walked 11 batters already. So we're already matching that total. We're not even at the halfway point for what he pitched from last year. Blue Jays will be patient too. They draw a lot of walks. They have the 4th highest walk rate in the league against right-handed pitching so far this season. So that means guys on the base path, a lot of traffic on the base path. That could lead to runs with the way that Musgrove has been pitching. And with those strikeouts coming down, that means he's inducing a lot more contact. This Blue Jays team can definitely hit. They've been very up and down all throughout the year.
San Diego's kind of fallen asleep at the plate this weekend.
San Diego?
Yeah.
Yes, they absolutely have. But they got Chris Bassett going for them today. Really struggles against lefties, very dynamic against righties. San Diego's a very right-handed heavy lineup, giving the Blue Jays money line as underdogs plus 108. Whatever it was.
Okay, yeah, that game's at around 4 o'clock Eastern time.
So this
right,
afternoon,
too.
there you go.
Yeah. So we know John Sterling is watching this show right now on his new 86-inch TV. He has a nice 83-inch TV. And you are looking at a New York team right now, which on the brink of sweeping this Dodgers team, this super team right now. So you're targeting this game for which bet here as we go to run?
Yeah, just real quick. If the Dodgers lose today, they will be a 500 baseball club.
Right,
They'll
no
be
one's hitting the
12
panic
and 12.
button, though, Steve.
No, but they're 3-7 over their last 10 games. And the only reason I bring that up is because they obviously had the highest win total of the year. Preseason-wise, I think it was 102.5 wins is what they closed at. So being 500, 20-something games in, not time to panic yet, but it's not a great thing to see.
The Mets beat them today, and let's say, the Blue Jays bet that you just gave out doesn't hit and the Padres win. They're tied atop that division.
That's insane to think about. Insane to think about.
So, but the Mets right now, so what is the bet that you like between the Mets and Dodgers? Because the Mets are the hottest team in baseball right now. They've won 6 straight.
They've been playing really well. I feel like nobody's really talking about this team, but I'm not expecting a lot of offense here today. I'm going to go under 9 runs for this game with the Dodgers here. I'm not sure I'm looking to take an over on a game, especially when it's at 9 runs, when it involves Tyler Glasnow. I know that he did not have a good start his last time out going against the Nationals, but aside that start, he's been absolutely fantastic in his debut for the Dodgers. 3.72 ERA, an expected ERA of 2.97. He's obviously generating a very high swing and miss rate. That's what he always does, about 14% on the season so far. Then we got Adrian Hauser going for the Mets. Not a great pitcher. He's pretty average. He's been pretty average in the 3 starts that he's made already. He is putting a lot of guys on base. He is issuing a lot of walks, 10 free passes already through 15 innings, which of course is a bit concerning, but nonetheless, I don't think the Mets are going to go out there and start whacking around Tyler Glasnow. So that's why I think this game total a little bit high here at 9 runs. When I look at the starting matchups, I always kind of try to envision what I think that the game total is going to be. Thought this one maybe be 8, 8.5. Okay. So I was pretty surprised when I saw that the game total here was set at 9. Give me the under in this one.
Okay, so I'm looking at the Reds offense here. So they've scored 14 runs the past two games, but man, they were in a rut when they were in Seattle.
Yes.
They got swept by Seattle. They've kind of struggled. So this was supposed to be America's team. It was last year.
Yep.
It was an electric atmosphere in that ballpark. So kind of not a shocker that you're looking at an under here for this team total for the Reds today.
No, we like the over in this.
You are, so you like the over.
Yes.
Oh, wait, so you are reading into the fact that they have started to heat up over these past two games.
Yeah, so yesterday, we took them on the money line. They immediately gave up 2 runs in the first inning, so obviously concerning. They go to the bottom of that inning, they score 5 runs, the Reds.
All right.
Right there. So they cut right back in that game. They're able to hold on 7-5 against the Angels. I like them to go over 4.5 runs here today as well. We got a good pitching matchup for them to put up some runs. They're going up against Jose Soriano, who's going to be making the start for the Angels here. He was primarily a reliever last year. He worked all out of the bullpen last year. This year, he's made 2 starts. He made a couple of appearances out of the bullpen as well. Not pitching deep into games. He's only gone no more than 5 innings in all the appearances that he's made. So expecting more of the Angels bullpen in that game. And that's kind of the key here for me, because the Angels bullpen has been very, very bad. They have one of the worst ERAs in Major League Baseball right now, 5.19 ERA. 5.01 fifth, and only a 7.4 K9. So they are not getting any strikeouts at all. This is not a team that you want making contact against you, because the Reds team, when they get a hold of some of these pitches, they have a ton of power on this team. Yeah. So we have Soriano, who is a high walk guy. He's walking almost 5 per 9 inning at this point, very early on, but the Reds team, very patient, just like the Blue Jays we just talked about. I think the Reds get a lot of traffic on the base paths here today. I'd like them to go over 4.5 runs here again this afternoon.
Okay, so, I mean, the good news for them, too, is Ellie De La Cruz has hit 6 home runs, so he's pacing this team right now.
Yep.
He ranks 4th in Major League Baseball in that department. He's got, he's 18th in runs batted in as well, so that guy continues to deliver.
I think he also leads the league in errors, which is not a great thing.
Oh,
he makes up for it on offense.
He'd fit in perfectly on the Red Sox, then.
Dude, that
All right,
team.
let's get to some player props here. And wow, Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
But you're not targeting him for a bat in his hand, anything offensively here.
So we're going to take him to steal a base today. So go over half a stolen base.
Wow, what are the odds on that?
Plus 550.
Oh, daddy.
And I'm actually surprised because Ohtani is leading the Dodgers in stolen bases.
What?
He has 5 on the year. People don't realize, he actually is a pretty good base stealer too as well. We always talk about how good his pitching is, his hitting, his power, but a very less spoken about part of his game is stealing some bases here. So Ohtani at plus 550 to steal a base. Now, here's the thing, this is why I'm kind of on this bet here. So we just learned yesterday that Francisco Alvarez, who is the catcher for the Mets, is going to miss a considerable amount of time. He's going to be getting thumb surgery because he tore a ligament in his thumb. So he's going to be out for a long period of time here. So now this brings on Omar Narvaez, who is going to be the primary catcher for the Mets. When you are targeting stolen base props, you want to be targeted against this guy specifically. Over the last 2 seasons, and so actually I'll take that back, over this season and last season, over that span, he has allowed 62 stolen bases and has only caught 6.
What?
62 stolen bases, has
Stop
only
that.
caught 6. So I mentioned that Ohtani is your stolen base leader for the Dodgers here. This is a small play. Plus 550, you only have to put a little bit on here to earn a unit or whatever you're trying to gain here, but I really like these odds here at plus 550 for Ohtani to steal a base, because I feel like these odds are set as if if Alvarez was the catcher here, not necessarily Narvaez. So I like that. I feel like we're getting an edge here on these odds here. Plus 550 Shohei Ohtani to steal a base. But take this knowledge, use that moving forward for when guys are playing the Mets, guys who can steal bases at a high clip. Narvaez is somebody you definitely want to be targeting against when it comes to stolen bases.
He is, he's thriving right now, Ohtani's building his dream oceanfront home in Hawaii. That's going to be...
Well, he's got all of his money now. So I feel like,
really he's only making $1 million a year, so it's actually a lot of value.
Yeah, nobody's spending it, recklessly for it.
Okay, all right. What else do you got here for player odds?
Yeah, so one final play here. We're going to go to the Nationals and Astros game. We're going to take Mitchell Parker, who is the starter for the Nationals today.
Oh.
We're going to take him under 3.5 strikeouts. Very low number here, but as it's been in the years past, the Houston Astros because they basically have their same core lineup for the past 3-4 years now. This lineup does not strike out at all. They are one of the toughest teams in the league to strike out, especially when they're facing left-handed pitching. They have just a 15% K rate in the league. As you'd imagine, that's one of the lowest in the league here. This is going to be the second start of the year for Parker. He was a high strikeout guy in the minors, but really haven't seen that equate into the major leagues just of yet. So give me under 3.5 strikeouts for this one. I think the Houston Bats will get it going here against Parker. But Astros bats. You want to talk about a team that's struggling?
they've been very underwhelming, right?
Very underwhelming.
But they blew a big lead yesterday, right? Or they lost it like in the 9th inning or something.
Yeah, this seems to happen quite often with that.
Right? I think it's that bullpen and that rotation.
Yep.
Just disgusting. You know what's not disgusting is the NFL draft here, people. Luke Swain is standing by. He's going to help guide Steve and Julian as they search for which NFL draft bets to target on the DK Sportsbook.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of The Sweat here on DraftKings Network. VSiN, we kicked Emerson off because he doesn't know how to host, so I'm going to take this segment over and do a little bit of NFL draft. Julian Edlow alongside Steve Buchanan. This is creeping up on us, and Steve and I were just talking about this. Like, we usually have a lot more draft bets in pocket by this time of year. I only have a couple, and we're only a few days away. So we're doing something that's going to help us get more draft bets in pocket. Luke Swain, you know him on Twitter if you follow at Vegas Refund, which if you bet drafts, you probably do. Luke, welcome on, man. How you doing?
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And we are going to open it up in a little bit, but we're going to start really with what everyone's been talking about the last couple of days. We know where we're going at number 1, but the number 2 pick has seen odds move all over the place, and you see it right there. April 17th, Jaden Daniels, you're laying 330. It essentially came down to a pick'em a couple of days ago, and now we're back to a little bit more Daniels money coming in there, minus 150 versus plus 125 for Drake May. What say you about the number 2 pick here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it does feel like we're somewhat stuck in a loop where, I mean, this happens every single year. And last year it was somewhat of like CJ Stroud, whereas, I mean, he was the favorite to be number 1 at one point, and then he was just getting criticized left and right for, I guess, basically his IQ, where people were seeing him slide to the 8, and then all of a sudden we're a week out and everything comes back to normal, and he's the favorite to go number 2 like he always was for the year prior. And this is kind of what's happened to Drake May, where he was like the consensus to go to forever. And then Jaden Daniels won the Heisman, and all this hype and media started to hype Jaden Daniels up, and he was the odds-on favorite to go number 2, and Drake May could fall. And all of a sudden we've seen what we saw last year happen again, and the odds are somewhat even now between the two. And really, I don't think anyone knows. If I was to put my money on it, I would probably say I would be betting Jaden right now, given what his price was a couple days ago. But truly, like, I don't think anyone knows, and I don't think there really is anything you can bet into this market. If anything, I'd be, I guess, looking for Jaden and looking for somewhat of a certainty in terms of info that's out there, which will probably happen within the next couple of days, to get Jaden at a cheaper price because he was minus 300 probably 2 days ago.
Yeah, look, that was going to kind of be my follow-up here. Like, is this a situation where you're looking to almost kind of hedge yourself here, where it's basically down to the 2-player race at this point, and there is an opportunity where you can basically make money between the 2 of them here as these odds shift so dramatically during the week?
Yeah, I mean, you can, like, I think I have like 1 bet on any of these QBs, like whether it's Knicks, Penix, or the top 3, where I think I had a Bo Nix to go 3 bet from a while back, and now I'll probably just try to get involved with Jaden so that I guess I can guarantee my profit. But for me, like, I don't think you want to just be betting both of these given the odds if you don't have any bets now. If you do, there are hedge opportunities, but like, I would definitely wait for a certainty, because really, like, Schefter saying like buy Jaden Daniels jerseys, like things like that have moved the market, and I truly just don't think anyone knows the answer to the test here. And this would just be something where we wait for it.
Schefter's saying that, but at the same time, he's like concluding all these segments with, but we really don't know yet. And like one-liners at the end after these whole things where it's like, he's telling you what's going to happen, and then he's saying, but I actually don't know.
And I mean, I don't, kind of been saying this, and someone actually got on me for being political, which is not it at all. But for me, like, Schefter making all these Jaden claims, like, he's just too mainstream for me to like really like make anything he's saying bettable, where like he might know the most out of all the guys, out of the insiders, but at the same time, he's going to create the most smoke as well. So it brings me back to like the NBA draft a couple of years with Waj pumping Jabari to go 1, and I think, Julian, you remember that? He did not.
Oh, yeah.
Which was fantastic.
I remember.
But, yeah, it just brings me back to that. Like, Schefter, yes, he's the greatest at his job, but for this one thing, he just feels a little bit too much like a mainstream person.
All right, last thing really quick on the quarterbacks, just because everybody's talking them, and then we'll get into more of the board. I assume since you're not really invested in the 2 pick, you're not really seeing any value in the top 4. But do you think the top 4 are all quarterbacks? What do you think of all this J.J. McCarthy smoke? I will give my personal opinion. I haven't bet it yet. The J.J. McCarthy stuff is reminding me of the Will Levis stuff, and I could see him slide, and everybody's starting to say he's going to go up there. I don't know. Do you have any opinion there, Luke?
Yeah, I think myself as well had a little bit of PTSD of Will Levis, and I don't know if it's apples to apples, but at the same time, like the JJ McCarthy under 5.5, like I'm very scared of because of Will Levis, who was 7.5 last year that I lost on. But I think I'm buying the JJ McCarthy to go 5 right now in terms of getting involved, like go top 5, getting involved in like his under. I just hate making bets off of trades where like for him to go top 5, a trade needs to happen. And I know everyone's just assuming the Cardinals or the Chargers will trade back with the assumed Vikings. But like you still have to like, and you still need to believe it to see it. Every year the media hypes 100 trades, and every year it feels like there's less than what we expected. This one, like there's a glaring need for the Vikings, and I guess they have the ammunition, specifically more ammunition than the other QB teams. But really, if it's going to be like, if the Vikings are going to get a quarterback and they're not getting in the top 3, it's going to be JJ. Like May's not going to be there. Jaden's not going to be there. So as long as a trade happens, he's going to go top 5.
All right, so before we transition into position totals, we're already talking about quarterbacks, and I know one of your bets that you sent me here does have to do with that position. First drafted position, you are going Vikings QB. Is that essentially your reasoning, or is there anything that you want to add on to that?
So it kind of contradicts a little bit of what I just said, but I was just going through the board in terms of what was out there looking for a bet for you specifically. And honestly, I didn't even realize DraftKings had Vikings first position listed. And I saw Vikings minus 125 and it popped out at me. It almost felt wrong. And like I said, I don't like making bets off of trades. But for this, I mean, even if you saw that segment with the Vikings O'Connell, I think he was at like a church, and one of the viewers had a question about quarterback and he answered, and it like really felt like he was going quarterback. So like to me, like the scenarios of them not getting a quarterback are like the Giants trading into the top 5. And I think that's crazy. It's a little suspect, but minus 125 for everything that we know, I feel like this should be minus 250. The only other book that has this up right now has it at minus 200. So minus 125, like I think that's a very fair price to bet on a trade happening for the Vikings to get a quarterback.
I want to bring up some of the position total bets that you can make. There's obviously, big numbers on here. Both sides heavily juiced on one way or another. But I personally like total cornerback selected in the first round over 5.5. You're getting that at plus 300. I feel like there's 3 for sure that will be in the first round here.
Then you need 3 more.
Well, hold on, I'm getting there. But Mitchell, Arnold, and DeJean feel like the locks in the first round, and then it gets a little dicey after that. But like Wiggins, McKinstry, Tampa, all feel like they could be in the first round too as well, especially on the second half of the first round. Tampa's kind of the one that I feel like would be the one that could cash this. I feel like maybe he goes to San Francisco potentially. Do you like that one, or is there any other position total bet that you do like?
Yes, it's 5.5, right? Or is it
5.5?
5.5.
Yeah, so I mean, you got Mitchell, Arnold, Wiggins, Cooper, and then Kool-Aid, which are 5, and then probably the 6th guy, which these like positional totals, it's really just like first round bets on like 1 or 2 guys. For like the 5 guys are locks, and then the 6th is like a first round bet. But it's like Rakestraw, I would probably be the guy that I think would have the best shot to throw this over, which I think the Lions are a prime spot for him. He's somewhat of like that quote unquote dog mentality that you kind of just pivot to the Lions for. But there's other guys like Saints Drill. I definitely butchered his name. I think he's a hot name to watch out for to sneak into the end of the first, or maybe like maybe early second, but first. But there's definitely like a ton of corners that if you asked me this question 2 months ago, the over-under would probably be 6.5. in the combine really kind of pushed guys like Rakestraw, Lassiter down that didn't test as well. But who knows? Teams could still have them high on their board for how they actually played, which is probably what should matter in the end.
All right, we got about a minute and a half left here, Luke. I want to close out with best bets from all of us. Steve, that's your best bet, right?
Yep.
You like the over. You want the 3-1 on the over 5.5 corners. All right, so you're going after a little bit of value there. See if a sixth corner can sneak in at the back end of the round. Luke, favorite thing? I know you gave the Vikings QB. Favorite other bet on the board?
So a fun one for me is Latu to go number 10, which is 18-1. Which for me, this is kind of a scenario where I think the Jets, it makes too much sense for them to hop the Bears and trade into number 8 and take Roma Dunze. Which for me, that bet also could be Jets to take wide receiver first, which I think is plus 225, which is fine as well. But Latu to the Falcons, I'm totally bought in on, whether he goes 8 or a different spot. But the Falcons beat reporter Ledbetter says that he cleared the medicals. All the connections that we have with him on the Falcons are very, very strong. And his 8 odds, I think, are plus 200, which have just been beaten down. But with this trade scenario, that makes too much sense. With the Jets at 10, almost 20-1, I think that's an easy bet for me.
All right, there we got some draft bets on the board. Luke, thanks for joining us here on The Sweat.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back on the other side. We got some NBA playoffs. And no, Emerson, I'm not asking your dog question about the beautiful picture behind Luke.
Those are Springer Spaniels. everybody. I have returned. I apologize. Julian Edlow is back as well.
Everyone had a great time, so nothing to apologize
Hey, Drew
for.
said the last segment was great, okay? So good for you. Drew doesn't say positive things like that all the time.
I know.
But maybe he'll say something positive after this segment because you're going to help us navigate some of the bets, some of the NBA bets that are available on the DK Sportsbook.
Yeah,
Before we get
we're
into
best.
today's 4-game slate, yesterday, we mentioned it at the top of the show. Good day for favorites, right, Jules? All 4
Was.
favorites winning here.
Home teams sweep the board and cover.
Okay. A couple storylines, though, to take away. Joel Embiid, I think, had to be the biggest one of them all.
For sure.
Right? So, just right now, what's the impact of that injury? He didn't talk to the media afterwards. Based off reports I've read, the vibe was okay after the loss for the 76ers. But does that impact any way that you would navigate the rest of this series, that injury and him being banged up?
It kind of confirms what I felt going into game 1,
Okay.
is that Embiid wasn't right. He re-injured it. Credit to him for gutting it out and playing through it. He looked good at first. Clearly ran out of gas at the end of the game. But it just reaffirms why I bet the Knicks in game 1 and why I bet him in the series. Embiid is dinged up. They have 2 guys that can cover him in Hartenstein and Mitchell. And the rest of the team advantage Knicks in the other 4 guys. So I think it's going to be really tough for Philly to win this series. They'll get a game or 2 at home, I think. But overall, the Knicks are the better team. They're more well-balanced, and they're playing better right now. So I think that I'll look at Embiid unders, just like I spoke about yesterday, because I think there's going to be games in this series that he doesn't finish or he misses time and comes back in. It's going to be that type of series.
Anthony Edwards overcame his favorite player, Kevin Durant, during that Game 1 victory. He met another childhood idol afterwards and future Hall of Fame running back, Vikings legend, Adrian Peterson, who descended on the locker room after that win. I think you said on this show yesterday, that was important information. I think you said on this show yesterday, were people like overlooking Minnesota or they were too heavy on the Suns? What was your takeaway from that?
Yeah, I didn't have a bet on that series, so I just said I lean Wolves, and that played out, and I would still lean that way. Now, this is going to be a little bit more of a back-and-forth series. I'm going to have a hard time betting it. I don't know if I'm going to bet it. I would consider the Suns in Game 3.
Okay.
They're larger dogs,
Game
so now
2.
the Wolves go out. Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good.
Game
All good.
2, the spread is 3. I
Yeah.
would consider the Suns
There you go.
plus 3 in Game 2. There you
Okay.
go. This is going to be a little bit more back and forth of a series. I trust Booker, Durant, guys like that to respond. You got a younger Wolves team that's kind of figuring it out. Like we talked about yesterday on the show, the Suns have dominated this matchup until yesterday. So
Okay.
I think this will be more of the zigzag theory type of series where you come back and forth. Every home favorite that won yesterday, Game 2 opened with them favored a larger number than Game 1. So stock is being put into these Game 1 performances. Maybe that puts a little bit of value on some of the road dogs in Game 2.
Okay, and just one more. What did you learn between the Lakers and the Nuggets there? Because the Lakers started off hot. They
Yeah.
were up, what,
They were
double
up
digits
3
in
at
the second
half.
quarter?
They were up 12 in the second quarter.
Like, LeBron looked like the best player, as we mentioned in the show already. Aaron Gordon, Denver's key defender, got into foul trouble. You had
Yep.
D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Davis making shots. And then,
D'Angelo
every
Russell
game of...
really not making
Yeah,
shots, but
exactly. And then, in the end, like every game of last year's Western Conference Finals, none of that mattered.
a lot of what I would expect there. The Lakers are going to have good stretches. LeBron's LeBron. He's going to show up at times. But Denver's just too good, particularly on their home floor. And they ran away with that dominant third quarter, carried that momentum into the fourth, and closed it out. Down 12 in the second quarter at home, and you cover 6.5, 7 in that game. That's pretty good. I think that the Lakers are going to be able to piece things together, but not stick with the Nuggets for 48 minutes, just like last year in the competitive sweep that we saw. If you wanted to talk about how competitive it is, the Lakers were right there. Denver broke away at the end of every game, including those road games in LA. So I expect a lot of games to look like that game last night. Maybe Denver doesn't win by quite as many, have quite as dominant of a third quarter, but they're going to have their runs, and the Lakers aren't going to be able to make enough runs to win enough games.
Lakers have now lost 9 straight games to Denver between the regular season and playoffs, last defeating the Nuggets December 16th, 2022. As for today, Heat Celtics is going to be the first of 4 on this Sunday playoff slate around the association. Man, Celtics are a heavy favorite here. You joked at the top of the show. Man, minus 3,000 for Celtics to win the series. Is there any bet that you're willing to consider in this one without Jimmy Butler?
So I do think that the Celtics take this personally from last year, and
Yeah, but it's not going to really mean that much without Jimmy Butler. You can't say,
No,
"Oh, we got
but-
revenge."
no, but I think they've heard the noise for a full year, and they want to come out and start this postseason run by flexing a little bit. I'm not saying they'll maintain that for the full series. They can't keep their focus all the time. Maybe they'll slip up and lose a game in this series. But for starters, you have a Miami team that played on Wednesday. Butler gets hurt, play on Friday night. Now Sunday afternoon, road game in Boston. So you go Philly, Miami, Boston. It's like 36 hours ago, 40 hours ago that game on Friday night ended. No Butler. This is a tough spot. I think the Celtics come out looking pretty good. I would consider laying 8 first half. I would consider laying the first quarter. And I would look at guys we don't have on the board yet, but that I hope we get on the board. Your Sam Hausers, your Peyton Pritchards, who are going to be a part of the rotation early and then potentially finish with more minutes late if this one does get out of hand. Point props for them feel good. And the other one, Derek White's first quarter point prop is 2.5. It's minus 135 to the over, but he generally gets a good amount of run in the first quarter. He hits a 3 in the first quarter, you cash. Derek White's played well against Miami. I like Derek White. Minus 135 for over 2.5. First quarter points if you want to have a sweat. Get it out of the way by the end of the first quarter.
Porzingis, now a member of the Celtics, was of Dallas, and with the Mavs with Porzingis struggled to match up with the small ball units of the Clippers, and now the Mavs are 3-point favorites today on the road.
What a
in LA.
transition.
I mean, it actually was pretty solid. It's all a fact. How are you going to navigate this one today? You mentioned something about the Mavs, like their series number has grown or something like that. You said something.
Well, I mean, Dallas opened a 2.5-point dog in this game. They're now a 3-point favorite. Dallas opened a dog in the series. They're now minus 185 for the series.
And then Kawhi's knee, he's getting injections in that, which, I reminded you yesterday.
Yeah. So I like Dallas. The ship has kind of sailed here.
Oh, wow.
If you agree and like Dallas, let me go to the series spread. Dallas should get this done in 6. If there's a game 7 in LA, it means things aren't going well for Dallas. They're probably LA is probably getting Kawhi back, and things have kind of changed. All right, minus 115, I guess, to lay a game and a half with Dallas. But when I put these out, this was Dallas as a dog on the money line for game 1. Dallas plus 190, I believe, to win game 1 in the series, and then about a pick'em price on the series. So I do like Dallas. As I said to you yesterday, I've seen this movie about 5 times before. You pointed out that I don't watch TV. I don't.
Damn,
this is
dude.
an analogy. I've seen this movie over and over every year. Kawhi Leonard's knee isn't healthy in April.
Okay.
And then we talk about if he's going to play or not. And what does he do every time?
He gets injured.
He doesn't play.
He doesn't play well.
He doesn't play. He doesn't
Which
play
is not
well
playing
because
well.
he doesn't play.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. When you don't play well because you're
Great
not playing.
point. So he doesn't play. I don't.
All
think
right,
he's
I
gonna
wasn't
play
wrong.
much
You weren't
in
wrong.
the series.
Hey, why
I
not
keep
both?
testing you to see if you're listening to me because a lot of times you're not. So now I come back to you for these questions.
And I have been listening, and I made a fantastic point. Make a fantastic point for us for Bucks Pacers. I'll do it. Pacers have owned the Bucks this season. They've gone 4-1, and they have sucked since Doc Rivers have taken over. Take it away.
Yeah, a lot like the Dallas series, except to more of an extreme because the Pacers were even larger underdogs at first. They were 5.5-point dogs. They're now favored on the road here. I do like the Pacers in the series. They've owned the matchup. Giannis's calf injury reminds me of Durant's calf injury the year the Warriors lost to the Raptors in the final. When's he going to come back? When's he going to come back? He pushed it to come back, tore his Achilles in his first game back. Milwaukee does not want to rush this with Giannis. I think we're going to see him in a Kawhi-esque way a lot later than fans think we're going to see him.
Okay. Last one here before
squeeze
we
it in.
before we head to break. Thunder, New Orleans. Anything there?
A lot less of a take. New Orleans
Another
without
big star is going to be out.
New Orleans without Zion, that hurts. This is a game that should catch up to them, but I can't lay 8.5 with the Thunder, who have no
Yeah, they're
playoff
so young.
experience. And
Number
they're
one
such
seed.
big home favorites. Let's see if the Pelicans can steal one early, and then I would maybe be interested in coming back on OKC to
Interesting.
win
I
the
think
series.
I mentioned that yesterday, and you shot me down on that.
OKC is going to win the series.
I know, but I said maybe Pelicans money line for the first.
They're not going to win this one, though, because they're coming off that
But
Friday night home game.
just
How about this? OKC game 1, New Orleans game 2, OKC series.
okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We'll see if the Cardinals can steal one at 4 overall in the draft. Marvin Harrison Jr., is he the guy? What does it mean for Kyler Murray's future? Let's discuss next. another year. It's another very important draft for the Arizona Cardinals. So let's dive into what's next for the dudes in the desert with Bo Brock, who covers the team for PHNX Sports. Appreciate you hanging out with us this morning, Bo. What's going on, man?
Emerson, a lot going on with this team. A lot of intrigue as far as that 4th overall pick. Will they stick and pick?
Yeah.
Will they take the best player in this draft? Or are they going to move down for an absolute historic haul? That remains to be seen in the next couple days.
All right, so then for all the people you've been talking to on Twitter, all the fans in the area there, what do they want to do? I want to know what they're saying. What they're saying to you. What do they want the team to do? And then I'm going to want your answer of what you want the team to do.
Yeah, what the fan base wants, it's overwhelming what they want to do. They're going Patrick Henry on everybody. They say, give me Marvin Harrison Jr. or give me death. That's what they want. There are so many people in my mentions, so many people in the mentions of the team. Anytime they talk draft or whatever it may be, they're saying, select Marvin Harrison Jr. Keep it simple and give us a generational type talent here in the desert to pair with Kyler Murray going forward.
Okay, and then what do you expect the team to do? What do you want the team to do? Is it going to be that?
You know, I'm glad you phrased it that way because it's what, the fans want, what I want. I, of course, want to cover number 18 out of Columbus, but I think that this organization, the way they want to move forward, the way they want to build this organization is by accumulating assets, drafting and developing. And if they can move out of the 4th overall selection, which has never been this valuable, probably in the history of the draft, with 4 viable quarterbacks to pick in the top 5, they don't see it as a negative. They see it as an opportunity to move down, accumulate more assets for this talent-rich draft this year, and then potentially set themselves up for success in the future as well. So I think that if the price is right, and man, is it a hefty price tag, Emerson, that they be willing to move down, whether it's 2 spots to New York or, to 11 with the Minnesota Vikings or 12 with the Denver Broncos if the price is right and met.
Damn. Okay, so, Bo, let's just say they do draft Marvin Harrison Jr. here. What would that mean for Kyler Murray?
Yeah. Rocket fuel for this offense. When Kyler Murray came back to this offense, to this team after his knee injury and played 8 games, this was a top 10 offense. I mean, Kyler Murray, he had to knock the rust off. He had to play under center for the first time in his football career, and he had to kind of really deal with some concepts he wasn't used to. But because he's such a gifted, natural athlete, he kind of found his got in the swing of things the final 4 games of the season. And this offense was really kind of humming. I mean, they were allergic to 3 and outs. They were marching down the field, and they were dangerous in the red zone. And this was without a top receiver. I mean, Hollywood Brown was already on the IR, and he was doing it with a 3rd-round pick and Michael Wilson, a guy named Greg Dortch, who's probably going to be their slot receiver. But outside of, and Trey McBride, of course, the tight end who emerged last year. But you add an X receiver like Marvin Harrison Jr. or a Roma Dunze or Malik Neighbors, it would do wonders for this offense that, really wants to ground and pound. But, when it comes to it, Kyler Murray, they want him to make his magic just like he's done since being selected 1st overall out of Oklahoma.
Yeah, how much do you think he has to prove this year in 2024?
I don't know if it's necessarily prove. I think he's probably set up for success, having the offensive infrastructure from the play calling to the offensive line to potentially, we'll see what this draft yields for him, but probably the best infrastructure to put him in place for success, because Emerson was just hero ball before that. It was like Cliff Kingsbury rolled the football out on the field and said, hey, go work your magic. And that was putting a lot on the shoulders and the legs of Kyler Murray, where now I think he's going to play within a system. And when things break down, that's where he can show off where he's special. But, I think Jonathan Gannon, his head coach, who's a defensive-minded guy, has a really special play caller in Drew Petzing. And, Kyler Murray, I don't know if the pressure's on. Certainly if he falls short and isn't, making plays, then you can kind of ask questions. But I think he's set up for success this season and is primed for a breakout, a career year.
Yeah, so there's not just one, but you got 2 first-round picks, this team does.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned earlier, you could see him getting a little creative. You could see him maybe trading out of that first spot, coming back up. I mean, what does the team need to do with that 2nd first-round pick? Currently where it stands.
For sure. And I think you can go one of 2 ways. But much like you're looking at this 4th overall pick right now, if they stick and pick, like the way they've navigated free agency, all signs are pointing to a wide receiver, where you also look at the same position that they've kind of neglected this offseason, and it's the edge. They haven't addressed the edge. They had one token sack against Justin Fields where he stepped out of bounds over the last 6 games of the season. They didn't get any pressure last year, and they haven't addressed that position. They beefed up the defensive line, but they haven't addressed the edge position, the outside linebacker spot. And, I think it would be, a reach to think like Dallas Turner is going to get there, or Jared Verse. But, what do people feel about the medicals on Latu coming out of UCLA? Could he be somebody that drops, or is it somebody that is projected more of a second-round pick, a Chop Robinson? If none of those edges are on the board at that point, if there's a run, I think they could probably always fall back on addressing the offensive line, or maybe one of these cornerbacks. But I would probably rank it edge, offensive line, and then maybe corner.
Okay, are those the biggest needs for this team outside of wide receiver there?
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And then I think they would always look to just address the trenches.
Yeah.
They added a couple defensive linemen in free agency, but it was one of the worst position groups maybe in the history of football. Actually.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no talent on this interior defensive line. If somebody like Johnny Jerzon Newton drops to 27, or if Byron Murphy II is there, I think that they'd be willing to get somebody who puts their hand in the dirt. But for the most part, I think they're going to go premium positions. I think that they'll continue to kind of do it. Monty Ossenfort did it in a sample size of one draft last year, but he went tackle, he went edge, he went cornerback. Those were his first 3 picks, and I would be shocked to see if that's not the route he goes this year.
So, Bo, we're talking about the Cardinals, who haven't won a division title, since 2015. What do you think it's going to take for this group to be competitive in the NFC West here? It's just like a juggernaut at the top there.
Right. Maybe relocation for the Niners.
Yeah.
I mean, like, to really contend for the NFC West right now, is the Niners window is firmly open.
Yeah.
And, I know that they've got some key additions and subtractions, and they've got, heavy as the crown as far as trying to figure out what to do with their players that haven't been paid yet. And they're paying some guys soon, as far as Nick Bosa. But as far as what the Cardinals, what they can control is they have to really kind of take off in this draft. Like, they've got 11 picks right now, 6 in the top 100 as it stands before any potential movement, and 2 first-rounders, as we've already talked about. And, Monty Ossenfort, their general manager, hit on some picks last year. And if they continue to raise the talent floor, I think that this roster is immediately back into playoff contention. I think the NFC West is a bit far-fetched just because of how the Niners are set up for success. You got the Rams ahead of them, and then we'll see what happens with Seattle. But I think the Arizona Cardinals can get back in and be within striking distance in a weakened, watered-down NFC for a 7th or 6th playoff spot, if they're going to hover around 8-9. I mean, this is a team, Emerson, that went should have been 4-4 with Kyler Murray in the lineup, but their kicker misses 2 kicks at the end of the game in the regular season finale. They go 3-5 with one of the least talented rosters in the league. So when Kyler Murray came back, he was able to elevate them, and they're going to get more. They're going to have more talent on the roster already due with the moves they've already made. But infusing it with young talent for the next 4 to 5 years. I mean, I think that they're going to they're going to continue to trend in the right direction quickly.
Yeah, what's been Jonathan Gannon's message? I think I saw that he said, as we go back to Kyler Murray here too, he said, I believe he's got the best football ahead of him. So I asked you earlier, does he have a lot to prove? But how about this? Could this be a make or break year? Because, Gannon, the leash is usually 3 years with a lot of these new head coaches.
Right.
And if maybe Murray can't get it done, he's like, bro, I got to try somebody else to try to save my own job. So could it be a make or break year for Kyler?
I mean, it could certainly turn into it, no doubt about it. If he comes out and he underperforms and, is keeping this team from going where they want to go, I mean, with anybody, it's a production league. And Gannon's not naive to that. Ownership has given them a little bit of longer leash as they hit the reset button last offseason. But yeah, I mean, you gotta go out there and produce. I mean, if there's you got to look at all the variables that go into it. But Jonathan Gannon, he really likes Kyler Murray. They are kind of like-minded, very competitive guys. But they also understand that they have to produce, and they were given the 1 year where, it didn't matter how many games they won or how many lost. But now you got to start to show some of the results. They've got what they feel is the process in place. that's going to, once they get the talent on the roster, that's going to produce wins. But if it doesn't happen, I think that the pressure goes on any player's shoulders. And when you're playing the most important position in sports, and that extension kicks in this year for $230.5 million, yeah, I mean, people are going to ask, what the heck's going on with the quarterback?
Damn, yeah, that's a lot of money. A lot of money there, too. And it seems like Gannon's been great for the culture there in the desert.
Yeah.
So, Bo Brock, man, of PHNX Sports, really appreciate you making some time for us here at DraftKings, dude. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, my friend, and enjoy the draft this week.
We will, man. We're glued to the DraftKings, player props, and people are holding out that Marvin Harrison being the betting favorite, the odds favorite, it sticks and all the way until the ESPN jingle goes off.
Yeah, go check out our sports book over there at TPC Scottsdale, my friend. We are wrapping up the show. Coming up next with maybe some bets you have missed. The cool down is next. Final block of the sweat. We have made it.
Yep.
Final block of the sweat this weekend until we return next weekend. What you may have missed in this show, if you're just waking up, I totally get it. We've had a bunch of NFL insiders on this program. So Ben Standig, Doug Kyde, Bo Brock, talking what some of these teams in the top 5 are going to do in the NFL draft. How about betting the draft? You two and Luke Swain of VegasRefund.com were hanging out because there are a boatload of NFL draft bets that you can get after right now on the DK Sportsbook. And Jules and I had an intimate conversation about the NBA playoffs. Reaction from yesterday, what you like on your betting card today. So if you missed any of that, head to YouTube, take the little toggle button at the bottom and go back to the front of the show and enjoy this entire 2-hour adventure. As for what we have missed, how about good old Jim Harbaugh?
Oh.
Yeah, that's right. Keeping his word and getting a tattoo on Saturday to commemorate the program's national championship win in January. So after they topped Washington in the title game, Harbaugh said he had promised the team he would get inked up if they went undefeated. Michigan finished 15-0, and on Saturday it was time for the now head coach of the Chargers to back up his promise. What do you guys think?
That was really the best spot for that?
Well, yeah, because, I mean, he is a dude who likes to roll his sleeves up a lot. You know, get out there, toss the rock around. Old quarterback.
Played quarterback, I heard.
Yeah, he did.
I don't know,
Rock
like-
his khakis.
And it's such a boring tattoo.
It is. I would have.
it's like,
It was
that's
very
else.
bland.
You're
I'm
gonna-
not a tattoo guy, but
I would have gone like lower back or something on that one.
Really?
Yeah, and I would have
Right in the middle?
I would have added color. Like, why didn't he do the actual?
The full logo.
Yeah, the full. You know why? Because maybe eventually he turns that into something else.
Like what?
Like,
Chargers Super Bowl tattoo.
absolutely. Yeah, mom. You know, mom. That's a
Mom,
good one,
15
producer
and 0.
Drew. For sure. I mean, this is a good reminder. This is a good reminder where, like, he made the promise and he got the tattoo afterwards. There's too many people out there who decide to get the tattoos before. Guys who, like this dude, Super Bowl champs 2024, Talkin Lions. Yeah, the Lions Super Bowl tattoo. So there's some wiggle room with this one, right, guys? Because did he mean like the Super Bowl this past year, which happened in 2024, or does he mean the 2024 season?
Exactly.
And that tattoo was absolutely done in some guy's basement, and he hasn't changed the needle out in 2 years.
Yeah, you should probably go get a tetanus shot or something like that afterwards. Hey, remember Celtics 2022? Someone got a tattoo of that.
Was that you?
And
no, not a
Jules,
tattoo guy.
2022
Look at that's as
World
bad as
Champion.
Harbaugh's. Like, why just the
Well,
one color?
All right, so here's
That
the thi-
is what the banner looks like.
It looks
yeah.
just like that. It's
well-
transparent, and you see the skin, and
we
it's
see-
all black.
and the
Okay.
gold,
If I
All
go
right,
to the
okay,
TD Garden,
fine,
that's what
fine.
it looks like.
and the
Fine.
Golden State Warriors winning the championship that year. I guess you could take that last two and easily make it a 4. Maybe not easily. Maybe if they win in 2028, they could do it. Lions fans are obviously very confident.
Lions fans love these. This is kind of their
Lions
thing.
fans are very confident because there's another one from 2015.
Are there no tattoo artists in Detroit? Like, what
Were
is
the
that?
Lions even good in 2015?
Well, I think
I mean,
that
I'm gonna
doesn't
find
really.
that out now.
I mean, that does matter, but also
That was
we're
like the
confident
1 year
they have
Stafford
those.
brought
I
them
was
to the
gonna say, that
playoffs,
was
and we
the-
just started getting.
Yeah,
They were
absolutely.
7 and 9.
Yeah, it didn't. Was the next season when Stafford?
Well, maybe they
lapsed?
meant the 14 season. Hold
Yeah.
on, and then they wanted to do the 15 Super Bowl. Okay, it was definitely 2014 because they
All
were
right.
11 and 5.
Okay, yeah.
So they were trying to win the 2015 Super Bowl. Obviously, that didn't work.
Here's
That was like the 1 year Stafford was good with.
Yes.
producer Drew has
Or
found
made
another
them.
one. The
Okay.
Eagles 2023 one, which didn't work out for the Eagles, but what this individual did after getting this tattoo and it not coming to fruition is scroll on down there. Scroll on down. He turned the tattoo.
Is that supposed to be like the bat symbol? Like for Batman? Because it's off. It's like it's not even in the circle.
It's a Philly thing,
But
Steve.
look at how bad
It's
this.
a Philly thing.
Look how bad this one is, and then look how good this one is. You can't.
Well, in this individual's defense,
Why would you
may
want
have
all that on
involved
your body?
multiple tattoo artists, and some are better than not.
My
All right,
cord
just
got cut. Yep.
Get out of
Okay.
here.
So that's a good way, though, of making something out of nothing. So shout out to that Eagles.
I mean, I guess. Imagine like explaining that to like a girl that you're, hoping to be with. And she goes, "What's with your arm?"
What are you hoping to, like, you're just out and about, you're, hey, you want to see my
Yeah,
crying
she's like,
Jordan
she wants to get to know you, and she's like, "Oh, explain your forearm."
Let me get to know you. Here, I've
what
got a
your
great
forearm
tattoo
is.
that'll explain all of the bad decisions that I make in my life. A prime example.
Well, I mean, that is an interesting, first time at the pool.
That's what I'm saying. Okay.
You have tattoos.
Yeah.
Did you ever regret any of them? Did you ever get any of them maybe premature? One of like a lover's name who you ended up breaking up with?
I would never do that. That's absolutely asinine to do such a thing.
All right.
Like, I'm not even married, and even after marriage, I would never.
We got a
do
big
that.
wedding for you coming up in September, though.
Yeah, we don't need. No, we don't need to disclose that information.
Yeah.
That's not anybody's business, and it's not yours.
Yeah, well, you told me.
Steve's trying to maintain the image of being single because he's a sex symbol here on the sweat. Ratings are going to plummet if people know he's off
I
the
mean,
market.
Nielsen surveys have indicated that is actually true.
All right, so what have we learned throughout this show? I
That
just
Steve-
learned
that
that there
Steve's
are a
getting
lot
married.
more bad tattoos out there than I thought. What about you, Bukes? Did you learn anything?
We did get some good draft insight from
Yeah.
Luke. I thought Luke was actually very solid.
Yeah.
If you did miss that segment, like we said, go on DraftKings YouTube and you can look that up.
The one thing I'll interject and share is this is one of the things that I do love doing in draft markets. One of the things that Luke shared is that we have at DraftKings Vikings QB up at -125.
Yeah.
Not every book has it up, but the other best price in the market is -200. You're not going to fight, like if you're betting the what baseball game do you like? The Toronto game today.
Yep.
You're not going to find a 75-cent discrepancy
Right.
between books. In draft markets, you will.
Yeah.
So that type of info, like even if you want to bet it and just bet it the other way,
Right.
Like at a different time when the number changes, like those things don't pop up in normal markets. That's draft market specific.
Is that what you learned? Did you learn anything else in this show?
I generally don't learn much because I already know everything that we talk about on the show.
Buddy.
What did I learn?
You learn anything about baseball when you listen to his baseball segment?
No, not particularly.
I think he left the room when I was on. To be fair.
You went to the
No, I
snack
was
wall.
here. I just wasn't listening very much. I pulled an Emerson, which is fine because I wasn't on the segment. I didn't have to respond. I did learn I do like Steve's stolen base stat a lot. It's not just like, hey, I think Ohtani's going to get a steal today. There's numbers on the catcher that's
Yeah.
going to be behind the plate that drastically change from the starter. So I think that was Steve's strongest analysis today, if I may give a compliment.
Yeah, that's a great compliment. You
It is.
No, 100%.
He gave strong
100%.
analysis.
You want to remind people one more time what you are betting today? Maybe your strongest NBA leans that you have, and then maybe, Steve, you can remind people your strongest MLB leans.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the move is pretty drastic on the Mavericks, but I do like Dallas a lot in this game one and in the series. So do with that what you will. I do like Indy to take game one, and again, huge moving price, but I like Indy to take game one. Another team that has shifted from a road dog to a road favorite here in this game one. And then in the Celtics game, I do think they're going to get after them early. So Celtics first quarter, Celtics first half, whatever you're most comfortable laying there. And the Derek White, 2.5 points. I know you got to pay -135 on that, but 2.5 points in the first quarter. He's been knocking down threes for them consistently. Just hit a three and you're there. I do like that quite a bit.
Bukes?
So a couple plays that we went over earlier in the show here. Love Blue Jays money line today going against the Padres. Joe Musgrove has had 5 starts already. Expected ERA of over 8 at this point. Don't see that adjusting in this game against the Blue Jays here, who've been, to be fair, hot and cold on offense, but Musgrove has been that bad, and strikeout numbers are way down already on the year for him. Then going back to the Ohtani prop, Ohtani to basically steal a base here, getting that plus 550 is just such an absurd number for the guy that's actually leading the team in steals right now with 5. You got Omar Narvaez, who I think I was saying it wrong in the earlier segment, has just been so abysmal behind the plate trying to catch potential base stealers. 62 stolen bases against him since the beginning of last year, only 6 caught stealing. in that span. That is abysmal numbers. That's like just over 10%. That's bad.
I would like to add some numbers to my Derek
Well,
White.
hurry up, dude. The
play.
show's almost over.
Right.
Okay, Derek White plays 9 minutes a game in the first quarter, averages 4.1
Yeah.
points. He takes 3.3 field goals. 2 of them are 3-point attempts, over 2.5 points.
Okay.
There you go.
And remember the 2 world #1 golfer parlay I gave at the top of the show?
Dead.
Chuck
Like a
was
golf
gonna win.
parlay.
Korda is
Yeah.
already tied for first, so that's looking good. I'm sure the odds aren't as good as they were when I gave them out to you. Plus 260. Korda and Scheffler to win today. All right, everybody, we're back here next weekend. We will see you then. Thanks for putting up with us.